The second question on the final practice exam, labeled file processing, has a scanner object. You will not need to create the scanner object or to create the file object. The scanner object is already created and is passed as a parameter to a method that we're going to call evaluate. Your job is to write that evaluate to do what's requested. Now, as you know, the scanner object, when it is a file, is a series of tokens, and it's white space that separates those tokens. Now, they may be integers, they may be strings, for example. Our file is going to contain a numeric expression similar to this. It's going to contain a double and maybe an operator. It might just be just one number, but after any number, if there's another token, it's going to be the operator a plus or the operator minus, followed by another number. If there is more, then it must be an operator. And if there's another operator, there has to be another number. So we're going to assume a correct expression is in this file. So you will not have to be doing any validation of the expression. So we're going to call this evaluate. So let's start with the method header. Since these values are double, we're going to be returning the value of the expression, and that's going to be a double. So make sure you've got that type correct. The name of method is evaluate, and it's going to have a scanner object. We'll just go ahead and call it input since we've been calling that, and here is the end of the method. So what our program's going to do is read in. There will always be at least one double there. So we're going to start by creating an accumulator. In a way, that's what we're doing. It's an accumulator. An accumulator keeps a running value. Sometimes we'll be subtracting a value and sometimes we'll be adding a value. So, and that running value will be a double. Let's call it result. And it's going to be equal to our scanner object. And we're just going to read in the first token. So that first token has to be a double. I want you to recall the difference between next double and has next double. So next double will read the value in. Has next double will just return a Boolean value. Yes, it does have a double next. And that could be it. That might be all there is, in which case we would return that number. However, there could be more, and there might be a lot more or just a little bit more. So this implies that we want a loop. And we want to loop as long as there's another token. So we don't care if that token's double or a string. So what we're going to do is we're going to check if it has next. So it has next will be any token at all. Let's take a look at this expression. With this expression, we've read in that will be storing in result, and we're pointing now to the next token, which is a plus sign. So after the first input, the second input will be an operator, and that's a string. So I'm going to declare a string variable. We'll call it operator, and that's just going to be equal to input dot next. As it's a string, we can use the next method to input the next token. After any operator, there has to be another number. So let's go ahead and grab that number, and note that I'm not going to store it in the accumulator yet because I don't know what operation we're going to do. I don't know that we're adding yet. So what I'm going to do is create another double variable, and we will input that next number into that double variable. Okay, what operation do I need to do? I do need to add 3.4 if we're doing this expression. I do need to add 3.4 to the 4.2, but I don't know. Maybe it might have been a minus. So it depends on the tokens that are in the file. So I have to make a decision. So here I'm going to write an if statement that's going to check what my operator is. Since operator is a string, I don't want you using the double equals, okay, to check for equality. For a string, I want you to use the dot equals method. If you recall, this dot equals method requires a string object. This is a string object. When you do this, you've created a string object. So we start with the object and we do dot and then we do the method, which is equals. Been doing this most of the semester, talking about how to call methods from an object. And let's check first of all for plus signs. Now I am in Word and it's giving me the wrong type of quote. But if you were in NetBeans, you would have the right type of quotes. Okay, so if it's equal to plus, I know what I need to do. I need to add it. Result plus equals num. That's all I need to do. But if it's not, I need to subtract it. And here is the end of my if else. And here is the end of my while. So it's going to continue to loop, doing the processing, calculating the result into this accumulator. When we're done with the while, it has processed all the tokens. Because when this becomes false, there's no tokens left, which means the expression's been evaluated, and we can now return result, which is a double, which is what we have here. All right, let's step through it using that expression. So we have result. I'm going to abbreviate these values, these variables. Stepping through it, the first statement inputs the double. And when you input that into here, what's going to happen is automatically the cursor moves to the next token. We have a while input has next. Now it's taken a peek. Is there a next? And the answer is yes, true. There is a next. Since that's true, it's going into the loop. And we create a string operator and we input that. Notice it doesn't have the has now, it's just next. So that's going to be assigned to operator. After that next executes, we're here at this token and we go to the next statement and the next double gets assigned to num. Well, as soon as we execute next double, we're here. But we're not ready to read yet because we got an if statement. If the operator equals plus, and no, it doesn't, so it falls into the else. And the else says, let's take result and subtract num and assign the value back to result. So the result is now 3.2. And here we're at the end of the while, or end of the if, and here we're at the end of the while, we loop back up. Is there a next? Oh, yes, there's a next right here. It's a minus. So we go into the loop. Now, we didn't read that next. That's just a peek. But this does the read. Every time you do a read, what's going to happen is you're moving over to the next token. So the operator is red, and the operator is minus again. It moved over to the next token, and that gets red, and that is a double, and that's 2.0. So we overwrite the 4.1 now with the latest read. And no more reading. Is operator equal to plus? No. So we go into the else part and we do the subtraction and result now becomes 1.2. Now, when we read that 2.0 in, I did not move that, but now it's moved to there. And when we loop back up, this is now false. There is no next. So the loop is done. And it's going to end up returning 1.2, which is the result of the expression. So for this question on the final, I'm not going to be asking you to open the file object. The scanner object is going to be sent to a method, and you're going to write a method that processes the tokens. And as you know, each next is just going to read the next token. Maybe a string, it may be an int. It depends on the problem that I give you. So that's going to be one of your questions on the final. Good luck.